Daeho Kim wiped the sweat from his face as he swung the heavy mining pick. The from his face as he swung the heavy mining pick. The asteroid's surface was hard, and his back hurt from working all day. Around him, hundreds of other humans worked in the same way. They all wore dirty clothes and had tired faces. The alien guards watched them with cold eyes and big weapons. "Keep working, humans," shouted Commander Veltar. His voice was harsh and mean. "You are behind on today's work. No food until you finish." Daeho looked at the other workers. They were all thin and weak. Many had worked here for years without seeing their families. The aliens had taken humans from Earth and put them in work camps all over the galaxy. They said humans were only good for hard work and nothing else. But Daeho knew something the aliens did not know. In secret, he was building a resistance group. At night, when the guards were not watching, he talked to other humans. He told them stories his grandfather had told him, stories about the time before the aliens came, stories about humans who could do amazing things. "Those are just old tales," some humans said. "We are weak. The aliens are strong. This is how things are." But Daeho believed the stories were true. He had to believe them or he would lose all hope. Far away from the mining camp, in a hidden cave on the dark side of the asteroid, So-Young Park was working on something very important. She was building a communication device. Her hands moved quickly as she connected wires and small parts. She had been working on this for months, using pieces she had stolen from the alien machines. So-Young was very smart. Before the aliens took her, she had been an engineer on Earth. She knew how to build things and fix things. Now she used her skills to help the resistance. "Almost done," she whispered to herself. "Just a few more connections." The device was special. It could listen to alien communications from very far away. If it worked, they could hear what the aliens were planning. They could learn about other human camps. Maybe they could even find a way to fight back. At the same time, very far away in the cold darkness of space, something was happening. In the Kuiper Belt, where old rocks and ice floated in the black, an ancient machine was waking up. For 500 years, it had been silent and still. But now, deep inside its metal heart, lights were starting to glow. The machine was a beacon. It was very old, older than any alien ship or human building. Slowly, it began to send out a signal. The signal was not like anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was pure energy, bright and powerful. It made the space around it bend and twist. Admiral Crix was in his command ship when his officers told him about the signal. Crix was the leader of the Galactic Federation fleet. He was tall and had 4 arms and skin like metal. His people had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. "What kind of signal is it?" Crix asked. "We do not know, sir," said his science officer. "It is not like anything in our records. The energy levels are impossible." Crix looked at the data on his screen. The numbers made no sense. No known technology could create such a signal. "Send a scout ship to investigate," he ordered. "Yes, sir." "Should we warn the human work camps?" "Why would we do that?" Crix said with a cold laugh. "Humans are just workers. This has nothing to do with them." But Crix was wrong. The signal had everything to do with humans. Back on the asteroid, So-Young's communication device suddenly came to life. Voices filled the small cave as alien transmissions poured through the speakers. So-Young listened carefully, writing down what she heard. The aliens were excited and scared. They were talking about a signal in the Kuiper Belt. They were sending ships to investigate. Some of the voices sounded worried. "Unknown technology," one alien said. "Power levels beyond our understanding," said another. "The source appears to be a ship," said a third voice. "But the design is not in any of our databases." So-Young's heart began to beat faster. A ship? In the Kuiper Belt? She had to tell Daeho about this right away. She turned off the device and ran through the dark tunnels of the asteroid. She knew every passage and every hiding place. The guards never came to this part of the asteroid because they thought it was empty. She found Daeho in his sleeping area. He was lying on a thin blanket, trying to rest after the long day of work. When he saw So-Young, he sat up quickly. What is it? He asked. I heard something on the communications, So Young said quietly. The aliens found something in the Kuiper Belt. A ship. They do not know what it is. Daeho's eyes grew wide. A ship? What kind of ship? They said it was unlike anything they had ever seen. The power levels were impossible. Daeho was quiet for a long moment. His grandfather's stories came back to him. Stories about the first Guardian. Stories about a human who had left Earth long ago to protect his people. How old did they say the ship was? Daeho asked. They did not say, but it has been silent for a very long time. Something made it wake up. Daeho stood up and walked to the small window. Through it he could see the stars. Somewhere out there something was happening, something that might change everything. Gather the others, he told So Young. We need to tell them what you heard. What do you think it means? So Young asked. Daeho looked at her with hope in his eyes for the first time in years. I think it means the stories were true. I think someone is coming to help us. As they talked, neither of them knew that across the galaxy, in the deepest archives of the oldest alien civilizations, ancient computers were turning on by themselves. Warnings appeared on screens that had been dark for centuries. The messages were in languages so old that only a few scholars could read them. The sleeper wakes, the warning said. The compact is broken. Prepare for the return. The galaxy was about to remember why they had feared humans in the first place. The Federation scout ship moved carefully through the Kuiper Belt. Captain Vorden had been in space for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like the ship floating before them. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than his own vessel. The metal was black and seemed to drink in the light from nearby stars. Sir, said his science officer, the power readings are getting stronger as we get closer. Any response to our communications? Vorden asked. Nothing, sir. But the ship is definitely active. Something is moving inside. Vorden made his decision. Prepare a boarding party. We need to see what is inside that thing. The boarding party put on their spacesuits and flew across to the strange ship. They found an opening in the hull and went inside. The corridors were wide and tall, built for creatures the size of humans. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing with soft blue light. These symbols, whispered one of the soldiers. They look almost like human writing, but older. Much older. They followed the corridors deeper into the ship. The air was cold and smelled of metal and something else they could not name. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. At the center of the ship they found a large room. In the middle of the room was a glass container filled with blue liquid. Inside the liquid they could see a human man. He was tall and looked strong even though he was sleeping. His black hair floated around his face. A human? Said the team leader. But this ship is ancient. How can there be a human here? Before anyone could answer, red lights began flashing all over the room. A deep sound filled the air like the heartbeat of a giant. The blue liquid began to drain from the container. Sir, one soldier called into his radio. The ship is waking up. We need to get out of here. But it was too late. The man's eyes opened. They were dark brown and filled with an intelligence that seemed to see everything. He looked at the alien soldiers, and they felt afraid, without knowing why. The man stood up slowly. Water dripped from his body as he stepped out of the container. He was naked, but he did not seem cold or afraid. He looked at the aliens for a long moment, then spoke. 500 years, he said, in a voice that was quiet but somehow filled the entire room. Has it been 500 years? The alien soldiers raised their weapons, but the man did not seem worried. He looked at each of them and they felt like he could see into their souls. You are not the ones who made the agreement, he said. Where are the elders? Human, you are under arrest by order of the Galactic Federation, said the team leader, trying to sound brave. The man who had just awakened smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Federation? He said. What happened to the compact? What happened? To my people? His name was Hyunwoo Lee, though the aliens did not know this yet. 500 years ago he had been the strongest human alive. When the aliens first came to Earth, they had not come as friends. They had come because they were afraid. Humans in those days were different. They could do things that seemed impossible. They could move objects with their minds. They could travel between stars without ships. They could change matter itself just by thinking about it. The aliens had been terrified. They had seen entire worlds change overnight when humans visited them. They had watched humans heal diseases that had no cure and bring dead planets back to life. To the aliens, humans seemed like gods. So the aliens made a deal. They called it the Compact. Humans would be limited and controlled. Their powers would be suppressed. In return, the most powerful human would go into voluntary exile, sleeping among the stars until he was needed. That human had been Hyun-Woo Lee. Now he was awake, and he was angry. "What have you done to them?" Hyun-Woo asked, stepping toward the alien soldiers. "What have you done to my people?" The soldiers tried to fire their weapons, but something strange happened. The energy beams simply stopped in the air halfway to Hyun-Woo. They hung there for a moment, then faded away like they had never existed. Hyun-Woo closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. Across the galaxy, he could feel other humans. They were in work camps and mining stations. They were slaves, tired and broken and hopeless. The aliens had not just limited human powers. They had made humans forget they ever had powers at all. When Hyun-Woo opened his eyes again, they were glowing with white light. "The Compact is broken," he said. The alien ship shook as if hit by a giant hand. On the bridge, Captain Vorden watched. His instruments go crazy. The power readings from the strange ship were now beyond measurement. "All units retreat immediately," he shouted into his radio. "Get back to the ship now." But when he tried to contact his boarding party, there was only silence. On the ancient ship, Hyun-Woo looked at the alien soldiers with sadness rather than anger. "You do not understand what you have done," he told them. "For 500 years, I kept my people's power sleeping. I protected the galaxy from what humans could become, but you broke the agreement. You made them slaves." The ship around them began to change. The metal walls became transparent, showing the stars outside. But the stars looked different now. They were brighter, and some of them seemed to be moving. "Have to wake them up," Hyun-Woo said. "All of them, and I have to make sure this never happens again." He raised his hand, and the alien soldiers simply vanished. They were not killed or hurt. They were just somewhere else now, back on their own ship, with no memory of what they had seen. Captain Vorden found his boarding party standing in the shuttle bay, looking confused. They could not remember how they had gotten there or what they had found on the strange ship. "Report?" Vorden demanded. "Sir?" said the team leader slowly. I cannot remember. We went inside, but then..." Through the main view screen, they watched the ancient ship begin to move. It turned slowly and started toward the inner parts of the galaxy. As it moved, space itself seemed to bend around it. "Follow it," Vorden ordered. "Sir, our engines cannot match its speed. Then send a message to Admiral Crix. Tell him we have a problem. A big problem. Far away in the old archives of the first alien civilization." An ancient scholar named Elder Zephyroon felt his blood turn cold as he read the warnings on his screen. He was one of the few beings old enough to remember the stories about humans. He was one of the few who knew what the Compact really meant. "It has begun," he whispered to himself. "The human guardian has awakened. May the stars help us all." The galaxy was about to remember its greatest fear, humans at their full power. News of the awakening spread through human work camps like fire through dry grass. Daeho could hardly believe what he was hearing on So-Young's communication device. All across the galaxy, humans were talking in whispers about strange dreams and new feelings. "Something is happening to us," said an old woman named Mijin Cho. She lived in the camp and spent her time telling stories to the human children. "I can feel it in my bones. The old power is coming back." Daeho looked at her with hope and fear mixed together. "What do you mean, the old power?" Mijin's eyes were bright as she spoke. "Before the aliens came, humans could do wonderful things. We could heal with our hands. We could speak to each other across great distances without machines. We could make dead things live again. Those are just stories, said another human. We are not special. The aliens tell us this every day. But even as he spoke, strange things were starting to happen. Jin Soo-yun, a boy of only 10 years old, had begun to see things that others could not see. He could tell when the guards were coming before anyone else saw them. He could find lost items just by thinking about where they might be. The boy has the sight, Mi-jin told Daeho quietly. It is beginning. The awakening is spreading. On the other side of the galaxy, Hyunwoo's ancient ship moved through space like a dark wind. Wherever it passed, strange things happened. Dead. Stars began to burn again. Broken planets healed their wounds. The very fabric of space and time seemed to bend around the ship. Admiral Crick stood in his command center, staring at reports from all over the galaxy. His 4 hands shook as he read them. Federation ships were disappearing when they tried to follow the human ship. Not destroyed, just gone as if they had never existed at all. How many ships have we lost, he asked. 47, sir, replied his aide, and the number is growing. Crix felt cold fear creeping up his spine. His people had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but now something was happening that they could not control or understand. Send a message to the Council of Ancients, he ordered. Tell them the situation has changed. Tell them the human guardian is awake. The Council of Ancients met in a secret place at the center of the galaxy. They were the oldest beings alive, and they remembered things that others had forgotten. When they received Crix's message, they knew their worst fears had come true. Elder Zephrun spoke for all of them. His voice was old and tired. We always knew this day might come. We hoped the compact would hold forever, but we were wrong. What do we do? Asked another elder. The human grows stronger every day. Soon he will reach the core worlds. We tell the galaxy the truth, Zephrun said. We tell them what humans really are. The truth was terrible and wonderful at the same time. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were the first. Long before any other intelligent life existed, humans had lived among the stars. They had shaped the very laws of physics. They had created matter from nothing and life from emptiness. But power like that was dangerous. Some humans had used it to destroy entire star systems when they got angry. Others had created pocket universes where they played God with billions of lives. The universe itself had almost been torn apart by their conflicts. So the wisest humans had chosen to forget. They had limited their own power and hidden themselves on a small blue planet. They had chosen to grow slowly and carefully, hoping that when they finally returned to the stars, they would be wise enough to use their power well. The aliens had discovered humans just as they were beginning to remember what they could do. Terrified of what might happen, the aliens had made the compact. They had agreed to help keep human power sleeping in exchange for protection from other threats in the galaxy. But instead of helping humans grow wise, the aliens had chosen to keep them as slaves. They had broken their word, and now the consequences were coming. Back on the asteroid where Daeho worked, things were changing fast. More and more humans were developing abilities they had never had before. Boram Jang, a mother of 3 children, found that she could heal injuries just by touching them. When her youngest daughter cut her hand on a sharp rock, Boram placed her fingers on the wound and watched it close as if it had never existed. How did you do that? Her daughter asked with wide eyes. I do not know, Boram whispered. I just knew I could. Captain Nexera of the Federation Security Force was starting to have doubts about her orders. She had been told to keep the humans working and prevent any rebellion. But what she was seeing now was not rebellion. It was awakening. She watched Jinsu move a heavy rock without touching it, using only his mind. She saw other humans sharing thoughts without speaking. She realized that the Federation had been lying to her about what humans really were. Sir, she said to her commander, I request permission to speak freely. Permission granted, he replied. I think we have made a terrible mistake. These humans are not just workers. They are something else, something powerful. Her commander's face grew hard. Captain, you will follow your orders. The humans are property of the Federation, nothing more. But Nexara was not convinced. That night she did something that could cost her everything. She contacted Deho through a secret communication channel. Human, she said. My name is Captain Nexara. I want to help you. Deho was suspicious. Why would an alien want to help humans? Because I think we have been wrong about your people. I think we have been afraid of you for the wrong reasons. While they talked across the galaxy, Hyunwoo felt every new awakening. Each time a human remembered a tiny piece of their true power, he felt it like a warm light in his mind. His people were waking up just as he had hoped they would. But he also felt their pain. 500 years of slavery and lies had hurt them deeply. Many humans still believed they were weak and worthless. It would take time for them to remember their true nature. Hyunwoo made a decision. It was time to show the galaxy what humans could really do. It was time to remind everyone why the compact had been made in the first place. He reached out with his mind and touched every Federation ship within 1,000 light years. To their crews he sent a simple message. Release my people or face the consequences. Most of the alien commanders ignored the message or laughed at it. They were about to learn that laughing at a human guardian was a very dangerous mistake. The galaxy was in chaos. Reports came in every hour of impossible things happening wherever humans lived. On the mining world of Kepler-7, a human woman named Yoonji Seo had begun to speak directly into the minds of humans on other planets. She was only 20 years old, but her power was growing so fast that it frightened even her. Can you hear me? She whispered into the darkness of her small cell. Across the galaxy, hundreds of humans heard her voice in their heads. We hear you, came the reply from Deho and thousands of others. We are all here. We are all awakening. Yoonji had discovered something amazing. She could not only speak to other humans across space, but she could also reach out to the ancient guardian. When she touched his mind with hers, she saw visions of what humans had once been capable of. He is coming, she told the others. The first guardian is coming to free us all, but he is very angry. She was right. Hyunwoo's ship had begun to attack Federation installations, but his attacks were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. He did not use weapons or explosives. Instead, he simply convinced the universe that certain things should not exist anymore. When a Federation patrol ship tried to stop him, Hyunwoo looked at it and thought, that ship was never built. Suddenly the ship vanished. It did not explode or break apart. It simply stopped being real. The crew found themselves floating in spacesuits near their home base, with no memory of ever having a ship at all. General Thokmar, the Federation's war leader, was furious when he heard these reports. He was a massive alien with 6 arms and armor-plated skin. He had fought in 100 wars and never lost a battle. Impossible, he roared. No single being can have such power. Sir, said his aide nervously, perhaps we should consider negotiation. If the humans are truly this powerful. No. Thokmar slammed his fist on the table. We do not negotiate with slaves. Gather the entire fleet. We will destroy every human in the galaxy before they can become a threat. But even as Thokmar made his plans, human children were developing abilities that made his weapons seem like toys. Little Jin-Soo could now step between star systems without using a ship. Bo-Ram could heal entire groups of sick people just by singing to them. Other humans were learning to change the shape of matter, to create energy from nothing, and to see into possible futures. Captain Nexara watched these changes with growing amazement and fear. She had been secretly helping human resistance groups, but now she wondered if they needed her help at all. What are you becoming? She asked Deho during one of their secret meetings. Deho looked at his hands. That morning, he had accidentally made a flower grow from solid rock just by touching it. I do not know, he said honestly, but I think we are becoming what we were always meant to be. The Council of Ancients called an emergency meeting. Elder Zephron's ancient face was lined with worry as he addressed the gathered leaders. The situation is worse than we feared, he said. The human guardian is not just freeing his people. He is awakening abilities that have been sleeping for millennia. At this rate, within a month, every human in the galaxy will have power beyond our comprehension. Then we must act now, said General Thokmar, who had been invited to the meeting. I have prepared Operation Final Dawn. We will use every planet-killer weapon in our arsenal. We will destroy every world where humans live. That would mean killing billions of innocent humans, said Captain Nexara, who had also been called to speak. Better that than allowing them to destroy the galaxy, Thokmar replied coldly. But Elder Zephyrin shook his head slowly. You do not understand, General. Weapons will not work against them. The reports from our scientists are clear. The human guardian exists partially outside normal space-time. He can change reality itself. If we attack his people directly, he will simply make our weapons stop existing. Then what do you suggest? Thokmar demanded. Before Zephyrin could answer, every screen in the meeting room suddenly displayed the same image. It was Hyunwoo's face, calm and terrible in its power. Leaders of the galaxy, he said, his voice somehow reaching them despite all their security systems. I know you are planning to harm my people. I am giving you one chance to reconsider. The image changed to show Federation fleet positions from across the galaxy. Every ship, every base, every secret weapon was displayed. With perfect accuracy. You cannot hide from me, Hyunwoo continued. I can see every thought, every plan, every fear in your minds. You are afraid because you remember what humans can do when they are not held back by your lies. General Thokmar stood up and shouted at the screen. We are not afraid of you, human. We have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. Hyunwoo's expression did not change. Show me, he said simply. Thokmar activated his most powerful weapon, a device that could crack planets in half. He aimed it at a small moon near Hyunwoo's ship and fired. The energy beam shot across space, carrying enough power to destroy a world. The beam hit the moon and simply stopped. The energy hung in space for a moment, glowing bright red, then slowly faded away like smoke. Your turn is over, Hyunwoo said. Now it is mine. Thokmar's flagship, the pride of the Federation fleet, began to change. Its metal hull became transparent, then turned into flower petals that scattered in the solar wind. The crew found themselves sitting in escape pods, completely unharmed but very confused. I could have made you all forget you ever existed, Hyunwoo told the stunned leaders. But I am not a monster like you think I am. I am trying to save you from yourselves. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in terrified silence. Across the galaxy, humans felt a warm presence touch their minds. It was Hyunwoo, speaking to all of them at once. My people, he said, the time of hiding is over. Remember who you are. Remember what you can do. But remember also to be kind. Power without wisdom is the path to darkness. Yoonji felt tears run down her face as centuries of suppressed memories flooded back into her mind. She remembered human cities that floated among the stars. She remembered gardens on dead worlds brought back to life by human touch. She remembered a time when humans had been healers and protectors of all life in the galaxy. We were never meant to be slaves, she whispered. We were meant to be guardians. But even as humans began to remember their true nature, the Federation was preparing its final desperate attack. General Thokmar had not given up. If conventional weapons would not work, he would try something else. He would try to turn the humans against each other. Operation Final Dawn was about to begin, and the HFY galaxy would learn once and for all whether humans would use their returning power for good or evil. General Thokmar's plan was cruel but clever. If he could not destroy the humans with weapons, he would try to make them destroy themselves. He began spreading lies through the galaxy's communication networks, telling humans that other humans were planning to betray them. He hoped that fear and anger would make them fight each other. For a few terrible days, it almost worked. Some humans began to distrust each other. Arguments broke out in the work camps. A few humans even used their new powers against their own people, frightened by the lies they had heard. But then something beautiful happened. An old man named Dong Hyun Nam who had spent 40 years in the mining camps, stood up in front of all the humans on his asteroid. "Listen to me," he said in a voice that was quiet but somehow reached everyone. "I have lived longer than most of you. I have seen what hate and fear can do. The aliens want us to fight each other because they know that if we work together, nothing can stop us." Dong-hyun had always been wise, even before his powers awakened. Now with his new abilities, his wisdom seemed to shine like a light that others could see. "We are not just humans anymore," he continued. "We are becoming something new, something better, but only if we choose to be. Power does not make us good or evil. Our choices make us good or evil." Young Yoonji felt his words in her mind and knew they were true. She reached out with her thoughts to every human she could touch. "He is right," she told them. "We must not let fear control us. We must choose to be better than those who enslaved us." Across the galaxy, humans began to reject the lies and work together again. When they did, their combined power was truly amazing to see. On the world of Centauri 3, a group of human children led by a boy named Sang-ho created an entire new ecosystem in the middle of a dead desert. Trees grew from nothing, rivers flowed where there had been only dust, and animals appeared as if they had always been there. "How did you do that?" asked the amazed alien scientists who had come to study them. "We just imagined how it should be," Sang-ho said with a smile. "And then we made it real. On other worlds, humans were healing diseases that had no cure, fixing broken machines with a touch, and even bringing dead planets back to life. But they did not use their power to hurt others, or to take revenge on the aliens who had enslaved them." Hyunwoo felt the change in his people and knew they were ready. His ancient ship arrived at the Federation capital just as Admiral Crix was preparing for a final desperate battle. But instead of attacking, Hyunwoo sent a simple message to every being in the galaxy. His voice reached into the minds of humans and aliens alike, speaking in languages they could all understand. "People of the galaxy," he said, 500 years ago, your ancestors made an agreement with mine. They called it the Compact. It was supposed to protect everyone, but instead it became a tool of oppression and fear." The image that appeared with his voice showed the true history of the galaxy. It showed humans as they had once been, powerful, beyond imagination, but also kind and wise. It showed how the aliens had chosen fear over friendship, slavery over cooperation. "You were afraid of what humans might become," Hyunwoo continued. "You were right to be afraid, but for the wrong reasons. You thought we would become destroyers. Instead, you made us into slaves. You created the very thing you feared." On the Federation command ship, Admiral Crix watched his weapons systems shut down one by one. Not damaged or destroyed, just gently, turned off by a power he could not understand or fight. "But I am not here for revenge," Hyunwoo said. "I am here to offer you a choice." The ancient ship appeared in the sky above the Federation capital. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, its black hull seeming to contain the light of 1,000 stars. Around it, space itself seemed to sing with harmony. "You can continue as you have," Hyunwoo said. "You can keep trying to control and limit others out of fear. If you make that choice, you will face the consequences. My people are awake now, and they will not be slaves again." To demonstrate what those consequences might be, Hyunwoo gestured toward the Federation's greatest weapon, a space station the size of a moon that could destroy entire solar systems. The station simply folded itself into a paper crane and flew away into space, its deadly weapons transformed into something beautiful and harmless. "Or," Hyunwoo continued, "you can choose a different path. You can join us in building something better, a galaxy where all beings are free to grow and learn and become their best selves." Captain Nexara was the first to respond. She stepped forward from the crowd of Federation officers and spoke clearly. "I choose the second path," she said. "I have seen what humans can do when they are free. I have seen them heal instead of hurt, create instead of destroy. I want to learn from them." Other voices joined hers, alien scientists who had studied human abilities and been amazed by their potential, doctors who had seen humans heal diseases they could never cure, engineers who had watched humans create technologies beyond their wildest dreams. But not everyone was ready to change. General Thokmar and his supporters still wanted to fight. They gathered their remaining ships and weapons for one last attack. Hyunwoo looked at them with sadness rather than anger. "Very well," he said, "but you should know that my people will defend themselves." The battle was over before it began. Thokmar's ships fired every weapon they had, but the energy beam simply transformed into flowers and butterflies that danced through space. When the general himself tried to attack Hyunwoo directly, his armor turned into flowing water that carried him gently back to his ship. "Violence is not the answer," Hyunwoo told him. "But if you insist on being violent, we will simply make your violence impossible." In the end, even Thokmar had to admit defeat. Faced with power that could not be fought or stopped, the Federation leadership agreed to negotiate. The talks took place on a neutral world, with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. Elder Zephyroon spoke for the Old Order, while Donghyun Nam spoke for the humans. Ambassador Yelthara, an alien diplomat known for her wisdom, helped guide the discussions. "What do you want from us?" Zephyroon asked during the negotiations. "Only what you should have given us from the beginning," Donghyun replied. "Freedom, respect, the chance to be what we are meant to be." "And what are you meant to be?" Yelthara asked. So Young, who had come to represent the human engineers and scientists, answered her. "We are meant to be gardeners of the galaxy, healers, and protectors and teachers. We want to help all life grow and flourish." The new compact was signed 3 months later. Under its terms, all humans were freed from slavery immediately. Human worlds would be given full autonomy. Most importantly, humans would serve as guardians and protectors for younger species, helping them develop their own potential without fear or oppression. In return, humans promised to use their power wisely. They would not force their help on others, and they would respect the rights of all beings to choose their own path. Hyunwoo did not return to sleep after the signing. Instead, he established a new home among the stars, where he could watch and guide without controlling. His ancient ship became a beacon of hope, its light visible from every world in the galaxy. Young humans like Sang-ho began traveling to alien worlds, not as conquerors or rulers, but as teachers and friends. They showed alien children how to touch the quantum fields that connected all life. They taught alien scientists new ways to understand the universe. They helped dead worlds bloom with life again. "Is this what we were always meant to be?" Yoonji asked Hyunwoo during one of their mind-to-mind conversations. "This is what you chose to become," he replied. "And that makes it more beautiful than anything that was simply meant to be." The galaxy was not perfect after the new compact. There were still those who feared change and those who preferred the old ways. But for the first time in centuries, there was hope. Humans and aliens were learning to work together as equals, each bringing their own gifts to the great work of building a better universe. And in the far reaches of space, where new stars were being born every day, children of a dozen different species played together in gardens that grew in the void, tended by human hands and alien wisdom working in harmony. The lost protector had awakened, not to conquer or destroy, but to remind the galaxy what it meant to truly protect and serve. And the galaxy was finally ready to listen